You might think the narcissist is suffering after losing you, but the truth is, they anticipated losing you a long time ago, and they quietly prepared for it with ruthless tactics you never saw coming. But what they never expected was that you would rise. And not just rise, you'd become stronger than ever. In today's video, we're pulling back the curtain on how narcissists really cope with losing you, and why your absence is their greatest nightmare. No matter how calm or happy they may pretend to be, posting pictures with their shiny new supply, don't let the surface fool you. Inside, they're spiraling in silent chaos. Think they're doing fine. Think again. Their new supply is running games on them. They're trapped in cycles of self-destruction, desperately trying to recreate you and failing every time. Meanwhile, you're healing. You're seeing the truth, and you're finally taking back control of your life. This is more than just a video. It's therapy for your soul. If you've ever been hurt by a narcissist, you are not alone. And you need to watch all the way to the end to understand why. You are the real winner in this story. Hit like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell, because this awakening, it's only just beginning. When you walk away from a narcissist, they don't believe it's real. Not because they can't understand that you're angry or hurt, but because deep in their distorted reality, they truly don't believe you're strong enough to leave for good. In their world, you're not a person with agency, you're an asset. Something they believe they can retrieve whenever they want. They've conditioned you to bend, to forgive, to come back after every wound. To them, every time you returned was proof of their control. So when you leave and go silent, they don't panic. They wait. They sit in the comfort of delusion, convinced you'll text, cry, or come to your senses. They think this is just a storm. You're venting, making a scene. And soon, you'll crawl back like before. Instead of hurting, they comfort themselves with fantasies. She can't live without me. He'll be back. They need me. They don't realize you've reached the edge. You're not leaving on impulse. You're leaving after hundreds of chances, after your heart has been drained of every ounce of hope. But they can't comprehend that. In the narcissist's mind, others exist only to serve their emotional needs. When you stop reacting, they think you're playing games. When you block them, they believe it's just a trick for attention. They cannot grasp that your silence is real, that it's final, and they missed the last warning. But day by day, the message never comes. The call never happens. Your silence is not a tactic, it's a decision. And that's when real fear starts to creep in. For the first time, they feel a loss of control. For the first time, they face the consequence of underestimating someone who truly loved them, but instead of facing it, they mask it. By flaunting a new supply, faking happiness, posting like they've never been better, not because they're fine, but because they're desperate. Desperate to convince the world and themselves that they didn't just lose something irreplaceable. And the most painful truth for a narcissist isn't that you left, it's that you left, and you're never coming back. When the narcissist finally realizes you're not coming back, their emotions begin to collapse. But unlike a normal person who might grieve, reflect, or heal, they don't know how to hurt like a human being. They can't process loss in a healthy way, so they panic in their own distorted way, and that panic is never quiet. They start hunting for a new supply, a replacement version of you, as quickly as possible. But here's the irony. They don't truly want the new person. They want the feeling you gave them. And when the new supply can't replicate it, can't mirror them like you used to, they start to unravel. That's when the game flips. They'll pretend to be happy. They'll post to make you jealous. They'll send those check-in messages, start meaningless conversations just to get a reaction. If that doesn't work, they'll play the victim. I'm hurting. You're the only one who ever understood me. But you know better now. That's not remorse. That's a tactic. It's a performance designed to break your resolve. They don't want to make things right. They want to regain control. And if you hold the line, if you stay silent, if you don't fall for the bait, They start to spiral, not because they lost you, but because they lost their grip on your emotions. You no longer react. You no longer supply pain, attention, or drama for them to feed on. And to a narcissist, that is a kind of psychological death. What you see next, the chaotic partying, the turbulent relationships, the sarcastic captions, isn't recovery, it's collapse. It's the truth dressed in denial. And then, in the quiet hours of the night, when there's no one left to manipulate, when the screen goes dark and no one's watching, they finally meet the one thing they fear most, the emptiness named you. And then, just as the fear of losing you hasn't fully settled, their greed begins to rise again. A narcissist never truly lets go. In their distorted mind, the new person isn't a perfect replacement. They're just a temporary substitute, a distraction to fill the void you left behind. But they cannot stand the thought of losing you completely. Not because they love you, but because you were their most stable source of narcissistic supply. The one who used to submit, react, and make them feel powerful. So they enter a double life phase. On one hand, they continue the relationship with the new person, posting pictures, going out, playing the happy game as if you never existed. They use this publicly to send you a message. I've moved on. You're replaceable. But behind the scenes, they begin creeping back into your emotional space. They won't come back with real apologies or declarations of love. No, they're not looking to rebuild anything. They're looking for control. So they'll send casual texts like, saw a photo of us today, or hey, how have you been? They'll use shared kids, pets, or old belongings as excuses to reach out. And if you respond, the game begins again, not to reconcile, but to pull you back into their emotional orbit. They don't want you back to love you. They want to reassure their wounded ego that they still have power, that you're still there, still reactive, still vulnerable, that even with a new supply in their arms, they can control your heart from a distance. And the most cruel truth? They don't let anyone go. They won't leave the new person. They won't release you either. They'll try to pull you back, not to rebuild anything, but to put you back on the emotional shelf, a backup they can pull off any time they need validation. You become a plan B for the soul, something they can test, torment, or use as a mirror whenever their ego craves it. If you respond, even once, even lightly, they take it as an absolute victory. In their mind, it means, I still control their emotions. They never really left me. They're still mine. And with that, they return to their new relationship, content in knowing you're still within reach, still in the web. They don't want love. They want leverage. They don't seek connection, only a reaction. And if you're not careful, you'll get sucked back into the same cycle. Hurt again, discarded again, once they no longer need you. That's how a narcissist copes with loss. They never fully lose anyone, but they never keep anyone fully either. They keep people dangling, never allowed to leave, but never truly allowed in. And because you've seen their true face, because you're no longer emotionally reactive, no longer under their control, they now move into the most vicious phase of all, the smear campaign. It's subtle at first, but make no mistake, it's a full-blown character assassination. When they can no longer control you, when you're no longer within their emotional grasp, they're left with only one option, to destroy your image. Not because you've done something wrong, but because your existence reminds them of their failure. You didn't crawl back. You didn't break. You didn't play your part in their power game, and that alone triggers their deepest rage and insecurity. To someone as ego-driven and image-obsessed as a narcissist, you, the one who saw through them, are now the biggest threat. So, they begin rewriting the story. You're no longer the loyal, forgiving partner. In their version, you're the toxic one, the selfish one, the unstable one. They'll tell their new supply. They'll tell mutual friends. They may even twist the story to your own family. And they'll do it in a calm, sorrowful tone, saying things like, I tried so hard, but they just weren't who I thought they were. This is called narrative control, a classic narcissistic tactic. They don't necessarily want you back anymore. What they want is to protect their public image, and to do that, they must destroy yours first. You go from the victim to the villain in the eyes of others. You'll start to notice people acting cold toward you, friends disappearing, people blocking or avoiding you, and you won't even know why at first, until it hits you. They've been poisoning your reputation for a while, subtly, quietly, methodically. And the most painful part? They often start this process before the relationship even ends. The moment they sense you waking up, the moment they feel the mask slipping, they begin planting seeds. I don't know what's going on with them lately, or they've changed and not in a good way. These little comments are the first signs of the smear campaign taking root. Narcissists know they're manipulative, and they're terrified of being exposed. They know that if you speak your truth, it could destroy the image they've worked so hard to maintain. So they act first. They build a twisted version of you and sell that story as truth. If you react to it, they'll use that as proof that you're unstable. If you stay silent, they'll interpret that as guilt. Either way, they twist it to serve their narrative. But here's what you need to remember. You don't have to defend yourself against every lie. You just have to live in truth, because those with depth, discernment and clarity, they'll see. And no matter how much the narcissist lies, the truth always catches up. No one can wear a mask forever. Smearing you is only the beginning. When their one-sided narrative isn't enough to destroy you, they move to the next level. They unleash the flying monkeys, a carefully assembled circle of loyal, easily manipulated people who now serve as their emotional foot soldiers. These flying monkeys could be mutual friends, family members, even people close to you. Anyone the narcissist has quietly been feeding a distorted version of the story, and suddenly you start getting flooded with questions like, did you really leave him? Why would you do that to someone who loved you so much? She said she gave up everything for you. Is that true? They're not here to understand you. They're here to make you doubt yourself. They think they're defending someone who's been hurt, but they don't know the full story, and without meaning to, they are now part of the narcissist's emotional manipulation machine. You'll hear criticism, guilt-tripping, judgment. Why didn't you give him another chance? I didn't think she was capable of being so cold. He's heartbroken. Don't you care? This is emotional warfare by proxy. The narcissist doesn't even have to confront you directly anymore. Now they've got an army doing it for them. And many of these flying monkeys aren't bad people. They're just uninformed and emotionally manipulated. But that doesn't make their words hurt any less. You're in the middle of healing. You're trying to rebuild boundaries, reclaim your voice, and trust your own intuition again. But now, the people you once leaned on are questioning your character, not with compassion, but with suspicion. And the worst part, a piece of you starts to wonder, what if they're right? That's exactly what the narcissist wants. They don't need love from you. They want you to doubt your truth. They want you to feel guilty for escaping their control. And if you come back, even a little, they'll welcome you instantly. Not because they've changed, but because they've regained power. Flying monkeys aren't accidental. They are part of a long-planned strategy. Throughout the relationship, the narcissist has been building their reputation, polishing their image as the devoted partner, the victim, the one who tried everything. They knew this moment might come, so they prepared the stage. And now, the only person who's seen their mask fall is you. Everyone else still sees the show. You're not just recovering from emotional abuse now, you're also facing the social fallout of a controlled narrative. But here's what you must remember. Anyone who believes lies about you without hearing your side doesn't deserve a place in your healing. This is where the truth shows who's really for you and who's just a background character in your life story. Let them talk. Let the flying monkeys do what they think is right. You don't have to fight back. You only have to keep healing, stay grounded, and walk forward with quiet strength. You've been smeared. You've been misunderstood. You've been attacked by people you once trusted. But you're still here, still standing, and now this is where you take your power back. It hurts when others believe lies over the truth you lived. But healing from narcissistic abuse isn't about making people believe you. It's about learning to believe in yourself again. You don't need to defend. You don't need to argue. All you need to do is this: live like your truth has never been distorted. Let your silence carry weight, not the silence of defeat, but the silence of freedom. The less you react, the more they unravel. The more you move forward without performing, the less control they have over your story. That is the most powerful revenge. And then, slowly but surely, the truth will begin to reveal itself. When the narcissist loses control, their mask will slip not because you expose them, but because they can't maintain the act forever. The people who judged you will start to notice the cracks, the contradictions, the repeated patterns. Let them dig their own grave. You don't need to get in the mud to prove you're clean. During this time, your focus should no longer be on fighting them. It should be on rebuilding yourself. You were drained, emotionally, spiritually, even physically. Now it's time to rise, to redefine yourself, not as someone's ex, but as the true version of yourself that got buried trying to love the wrong person. You'll learn to set boundaries without guilt. You'll learn to trust your intuition without apology. And you'll look in the mirror and no longer see a victim. You'll see a survivor, a warrior, reborn. And one day soon, the narcissist will see you from afar, untouchable, unshakable, no longer in their orbit. They'll try again. Maybe a message, maybe an emotional bait, maybe one last victim card. But by then, you'll no longer be the person they once hurt. You won't need revenge, because the peace you live in is the punishment they never expected. Nothing wounds a narcissist more than watching you thrive without them, not needing them, not missing them, not even mentioning them. They've lost, and this time, they've lost for real. But you must stay vigilant, because one thing most people don't tell you is this: a narcissist rarely ever lets go completely. Even if you've cut ties, even if you've healed, even if you've moved into a completely new chapter of your life, they can still come back. Not after a week, not after a month, but maybe 5 years later, 10, even 20. Time doesn't mean the same thing to them as it does to you. They don't remember you with their heart. They remember you as a source of control, as a supply that once gave them a powerful feeling they haven't been able to replicate. And whenever their life starts to unravel, when someone else leaves them, when they lose a job, when their new supply wears off, they start digging through their past, and you show up in their mind as a potential option again, not because they missed the love, but because they remember how easy it used to be to manipulate you. They'll test the door just to see if it's still unlocked. They'll send a casual message. Just saw an old photo. Made me think of you. Hey, how's your family doing lately? These innocent-looking texts are actually bait, hooks to test your reaction. If you respond, even just once, even lightly, they'll sense weakness in your boundaries and start to push in. You've walked through fire to get out. But to them, that was just an intermission, because in their mind, you were never allowed to truly leave. And here's what makes it even more dangerous. They don't always return with drama or chaos like before. Sometimes they come back gently, carefully, disguised as someone who's changed, grown, learned. They might say everything you once wished to hear. I've been thinking a lot. You were the only one who ever really got me. I messed up. I lost you too easily. And if you're in a vulnerable moment, feeling lonely, doubting yourself, or questioning your own history, you can slip back into the trap, this time dressed up in prettier packaging. But it's not remorse, it's a strategy. A new loop is waiting to begin. Only this time, it starts slower, more carefully, more disguised. Narcissists never accept defeat quietly. They may disappear, but they're always watching from a distance. They remember your weak spots. They know how to use memories to stir up emotion. They know the exact timing when you're most likely to soften, and if you're not cautious, you'll get pulled back in. And this time, with old wounds still tender, the damage could be deeper than ever before. So even after moving on, even after finding peace, you must hold a line they can never cross. You must remind yourself every day, I will not return to the place I bled to escape. Block them permanently, not just on social media, but in your mind. No loopholes, no responses, no negotiations, because you don't know when they'll come back. But you can be sure of one thing: if they do, it won't be out of love. It will be to regain control. You've reclaimed your life once. Don't let anyone take it from you again. And if you've made it this far, not just in this video, but in your own journey, there's one truth you absolutely need to hear. You did what the narcissist never thought you could do. You walked away and never looked back. They truly believed they had you for life. They thought that all it would take was a gesture, a text, a look, and you'd come running back. They lived in the prideful illusion that you were theirs, that your love for them was eternal, that you couldn't exist without their presence. But you proved them wrong, not with words, but with actions, with silence, with boundaries, with the choice to choose yourself over them. You survived the manipulation, the gaslighting, the cycles of love-bombing, pain, fake apologies, and pain again. You broke free from the golden cage they called love, only to realize that real love doesn't make you lose yourself, doesn't make you fear your own feelings, and doesn't make you apologize for simply existing. When you left, you didn't just walk away from a person, you walked away from a former version of yourself. The virgin who tolerated, doubted, twisted herself into knots to please someone who never saw her worth. Now you're rebuilding, piece by piece, the real version of you that had been buried under survival mode. And you know what happens when you're no longer their supply? You disappear from their world, but you finally start to exist in your own. You stop existing in their hierarchy of control, and you begin to live in your own value system. They won't accept that easily. They'll try to come back. Not today, maybe not this year, but eventually they will. They'll return in the form of, I've changed, I've grown, or I miss what we had. But by then you'll have grown into someone who doesn't need their recognition anymore. You'll realize you don't need an apology to move on. You don't need closure to heal. Closure was when you stopped waiting for one. You don't need people to understand why you left. You understand, and that's enough. You don't need anyone to validate the pain you went through. Your healing is proof enough. Yes, you lost a lot. Maybe friends, maybe family, maybe trust, maybe even parts of yourself. But never forget this: you got back the most valuable thing of all, your ability to choose yourself. You chose to walk away. You chose not to go back. You chose healing. Most importantly, you chose you. Don't let anyone make you feel like you were too sensitive, too much, or that you gave up too soon. They didn't live in your skin. They didn't hear the subtle cruelty behind those sweet words. They didn't see the mask fall behind closed doors. They didn't survive the silent nights where your soul cried out. Only you know what enough felt like. Some relationships don't end with screaming. They end with awakening. Some don't leave you bitter. They leave you with a deeper understanding of your worth. And if you're still on the path to healing, don't rush it. No one recovers in a straight line. Some days you'll feel invincible, and some days you'll fall apart. That's okay. Healing isn't linear, it's a spiral upward. Each time you feel like you're back where you started, trust that you're actually seeing the same wound from a higher place, with greater wisdom, strength, and self-awareness. And if you're feeling alone in this, please hear me. You are not alone. There are millions of survivors like you, healing, reclaiming, rebuilding. You are part of a community of people who didn't just survive abuse, but chose to rise from it. Stronger, wiser, and freer. Look at how far you've come. No one rescued you. You stood up. You walked away. You carried the aftermath. You peeled away the lies, and you opened your own door to the light. And if you hold on to only one truth from all of this, let it be this: you never deserved that kind of pain. You deserve peace. You deserve safe love. You deserve a life that doesn't hurt. You don't have to be perfect, just whole enough to never again hand your soul to someone who would tear it apart. And if you've listened to all of this, I want to say from the bottom of my heart, I am proud of you. and you should be proud of yourself. Hit that like, subscribe, and share button. Someone out there needs to hear this, and maybe, just maybe, your healing will be the light that helps someone else find their way out. This life no longer belongs to them. From this day forward, it belongs to you.